We live in a strange world. There's so much we can't explain. My name is Alex Hannaford, and I'm an investigative journalist. I've seen and heard all kinds of incredible stories.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's awful.
It just rained. It just rained fish.
And the evidence doesn't always stack up.
I've never heard a thing like that in my life.
In this series, I'll investigate the most curious and astonishing events from all over the globe. My mission is to expose the truth about some of the world's weirdest phenomena. I'll meet witnesses.
Here we are,
Unbelievable.
Looked like something just blew him out of the sky.
They're everywhere. One of them just flew straight into my window.
Why this many and why on New Year's Eve?
I think it would have killed both of us instantly.
See the evidence firsthand.
Everywhere. Hundreds of them.
Hey, look, oh my God, look, thanks. And use the latest science to separate fact from fiction.
That's what science is. You try to explain something based on what you know. The more you know, the better off your understanding.
They are not crazy, they are correct, and it's just a matter of understanding the physics behind it.
That's incredible. To me, that's amazing.
Welcome to our strange world. Some of the world's strangest phenomena are caused by the weather. Freak weather events are on the rise, affecting every corner of the globe. While they can be destructive and terrifying, they never fail to fascinate us. As if tornadoes, hurricanes, and blizzards weren't enough to keep us on our toes. Mother Nature occasionally surprises us with some truly odd weather phenomena. From whirlwinds of fire to bloody rains. It really is a strange world of weather out there. I'm heading off to investigate one of Mother Nature's freakiest weather events. Ice bombs. These balls of ice can reach immense proportions. Plummeting to Earth at high speed, they cause fear, devastation, and even injury. I'll track down eyewitnesses.
She said something happened upstairs. A big ball of ice came crashing through the ceiling.
I keep saying it was like a bomb went off in here.
I'll never forget that sound. I looked at Terry and I says, Terry, it's ice.
And hear theories that seem beyond belief.
I thought it was from space.
He thought it came from a plane.
When it gets to an altitude, it goes and releases the waste.
My mission is to find a scientific explanation for these extraordinary incidents. I'm starting my investigation on the east coast of America, the site of some of the most recent ice bomb events. And I've tracked down my first eyewitness, here in New York. On a clear September day in 2013, a huge ball of ice crashed onto a Brooklyn street out of nowhere, narrowly missing Krista Blasey and her baby.
My car, which was here, was parked here at the time.
Right.
And I was on this side opening the door, and my son's car seat was on this side. So I took him out, was putting him in the carriage. I was actually buckling him up, and all of a sudden, right here, I heard the crash.
A massive ice block missed Krista and her son by just a few meters.
After I heard the bang, I picked him up and I ran back in the house. I was scared.
And why were you scared? You thought it was going to happen again?
Yes.
So if it had hit you,
I think it would have killed both of us instantly. Because the wave of impact, the size of it, it would have definitely killed us.
Krista and her baby had a lucky escape. If this huge chunk of ice fell from the sky in the way that she described, there's no doubt it could have proven fatal. I need to know more about this extraordinary incident.
It came down over here. The original piece was over here by the curb. And then the other piece scattered and went across the street.
That's a long way. It must have come down.
It must have been, yeah, come down.
Very, very, very fast.
Then Krista gives me a lead that could shed more light on this terrifying event. There were two other eyewitnesses. Her stepmother, Terry, and neighbor Lou were just a few meters away when this huge ice bomb struck.
Tell me what happened.
We were out on the porch, Lou and I, was like, boom.
And I'll never forget that sound. So I came off the porch, I looked down on the floor, I looked at Terry and I says, Terry, it's ice.
I would say it was about that big, between a softball and a bowling ball, and it was white.
I figured, you know, let me pick it up. And at that point, I found it like a burning sensation.
It was not regular ice, because you could touch it, you know, like run your finger on it, and it didn't melt.
It didn't melt when you touched it?
No, it really didn't.
Reading the news accounts of Krista's dramatic near miss, one thing struck me as odd. They all reported that the ice bomb had plummeted from clear skies.
So let me get this right. It was the afternoon, and it was a clear blue sky day.
It was 80 degrees that day. I wouldn't have took the baby out. He was still a baby. I wouldn't have took him out if it was even a little cold. So I know it was a hot day.
That's kind of the extraordinary thing about this, isn't it? That it was a clear day.
Yeah.
And so for a weather event to happen, this is probably the last thing
That's
you...
what made it so strange.
Right.
But I want to know if these three eyewitnesses have a theory as to where the ice bomb came from.
You must have talked about, oh, I think it might have been this.
I thought it could be from space.
We didn't have any other speculations, because what are really the other choices?
This interview has left me with a nagging question. I want to find out if the ice bomb really did fall from a clear blue sky, as they say. And the US National Weather Service should be able to provide me with the weather data from that day here in Brooklyn.
Good afternoon, National Weather Service.
Oh, hi, this is Alex Hannaford here. I am phoning to find out the weather forecast for a specific area on a specific date. It's September 4th, 2013, and it was in the Brooklyn area. I just need to kind of know what the weather forecast was for that day.
Sure. I mean, the weather forecast at that time was calling for mostly sunny skies with breezy conditions and temperatures in the lower 80s.
Temperatures in the lower 80s. Is there anything about sort of, you wouldn't know about cloud cover? It sounds like it was pretty clear that day.
The cloud cover was mostly sunny that day. We just had literally just a few cumulus clouds in the sky and a few cirrus clouds in the sky.
Wow. Okay, that's perfect. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome.
The weather data confirms the ice bomb hit Brooklyn on a warm, clear day with almost no cloud. Maybe ice bombs are not weather events at all, but something completely unrelated. I want to find more eyewitnesses, so I'm scouring the headlines in search of more clues, and I start to discover this phenomenon is much more global than I originally thought. In fact, there are reports of freak ice falling from the sky all over the world.
So this is interesting. During a 10-day period in January 2000, multiple ice balls were reported falling from clear blue skies over Spain. 50 such falls were reported, and authorities verified 9 of them.
Each of the ice bombs fell separately, tens of miles apart, and weighed about 3 kilograms, twice as heavy as the biggest hailstone on record.
The thing is far more widespread than I thought.
In just the last 10 years, well over 50 ice bombs have been reported across the globe. The largest caused huge devastation in South America.
So this is insane. There's one was found in Brazil weighing 200 kilograms. That's big enough to leave a 10-foot hole in the ground, smash the roof of a Ford Mustang, and make noises audible enough to be heard by people hundreds of feet away.
This kind of destruction demonstrates the potentially fatal consequences that these ice bombs can have. And I've just picked up a new lead of a couple who've experienced this devastation firsthand. I'm leaving New York and driving 3 hours west to Mannheim, a small town in Pennsylvania. I want to find out more about this ice bomb, one which reportedly caused actual damage to their property.
I think this is it, so let's pull in here.
Sherry and Eldon Whitmer were just a few meters away from an ice bomb when it crashed into their home in 2010.
Thanks so much for doing that.
And they have an intriguing theory as to where it came from.
So this happened in 2010, so it was
Yes.
sort of 4 years ago, 5 years ago this year.
It was on Mother's Day. We were just playing video games.
Where were you guys sitting at the time?
Right here. We had 2 chairs here.
2 chairs here in front
And
of
we
the...
had, yes, in front of the
screen.
TV. Yes.
And-
All of a sudden, there was this huge, loud crash.
We thought there was an accident.
And I said, oh my God, something hit the house. I saw just stuff hanging from the roof of the front porch. And we saw ice on the ground and big pieces of ice.
Out of nowhere, a huge chunk of ice had smashed through the Whitmer's front porch.
Okay, it hit on the other side of this beam, between the beam and the spout, and came right through there.
So when you came out and you saw it, what did it look like exactly?
From the inside, you could just see trim hanging down. Then when you walked out here, you could look straight up through, to the skies.
Was it one big hole in it, or did it just blow kind of like everything
No, it was
down?
one big hole.
But you saw fragments of ice all on the...
Yeah, we saw big pieces of ice.
It was about the size of an American football, the biggest piece. And then there were several smaller pieces laying around, too.
So that's pretty big.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was big. There's some pictures we can show you in
I'd
the
love
dining
to see
room.
them, yeah.
Okay, this is of the damage. I'm holding the ice here. That's a good way to show you.
Wow, okay, so yeah, you can see here, your hands are about this far apart,
Yeah.
and it goes all the way up here. So
I
it's a
had
big-
2 pieces that were broken,
Yeah.
and I put them together for 'em.
So it is just like an American football
Yes.
size. It
Yes.
really is.
It was white, but you could see rings in it.
As I look at the photos of the damage, one thing becomes apparent.
You know what, here is interesting, because in these photos, you can see what sort of day it was as well.
Yeah.
And the clouds there's a few clouds, but they're very, very high, mostly blue sky.
It was a gorgeous day. It was so blue, the sky. There was a light breeze going, so it made it a little cool. So that's why we were inside.
Once again, the weather suggests the ice bomb didn't fall from a cloud. But the fire chief who attended the scene had an intriguing theory as to where it had come from.
So the fire chief turns up.
Yeah.
What did he say he thought it was?
He thought it came from a plane.
When it gets to certain altitude, it goes and releases the waste.
From the toilets?
Yes.
So essentially, and then that freezes as it
That
comes
freezes
down?
as it comes
That's what he
down.
told you?
That's
that
what
it
he
was-
told us.
Right.
He said he's never seen it before, but he has heard of it.
I don't think that a plane would release their waste over a populated. I thought they'd probably do that at the airport, but I thought, it could have came from a plane. It could have been ice that built up on the wings and then broke off. That would seem to make sense. We knew it had to be moving pretty fast for the amount of damage it had done. Person had been walking outside, you wouldn't stand a chance.
I now have a new lead. Aeroplanes. I'm on my way to meet an aerospace expert to find out if there's a possibility that these ice bombs could be coming from air traffic above our towns and cities.
Hello. Hi.
Hi,
I'm Alex.
Alex. I'm Jack.
Good to see you, Jack.
Indeed.
Jack Lampy has worked for United Airlines for more than half a century, managing the plane de-icing unit.
So let me show you some pictures of some of the some of these chunks. So this is one of them.
Yeah.
So this is big, and this would have been part of a larger chunk.
I think it's common for people to think that things that come from the sky, since there are many airplanes in the sky, that they might be contributors to this. But I can't imagine that this would be dropping from an airplane.
What about this idea that it could be ice from a latrine?
It's possible, but very improbable and highly unlikely. I would find it to be very rare in today's environment where that would be the case.
Despite a wide-held belief to the contrary, airlines are not allowed to dump their latrine waste in mid-air. What actually happens is that toilet waste is sucked into a holding tank, which, once the plane has landed, is pumped into a tanker for disposal. But there have been rare documented incidents where leaks have occurred mid-flight. Being at high altitude, the waste freezes on the aircraft's exterior, and as the plane descends through warmer air, the ice starts to thaw, eventually breaking away and plummeting to Earth. With London's Heathrow Airport among the busiest in the world, it's not surprising that such events have been reported in the surrounding areas. In February 2013, a football-sized ball of ice smashed through a conservatory roof in Clamfield, Hampshire, causing several £1,000s worth of damage to Jeff Scriven's home. Then, just a month later in Shropshire, 52-year-old Caroline Guy was in bed when she was woken by a huge smash. A giant frozen lump of waste fell thousands of meters from a plane and tore through the roof of her caravan.
The airplanes manufactured in the last 20 years, technologically, the lavatory systems are refined and enhanced. And the deodorant in the lavatory fluid, we all know, is blue. So this kind of ice would clearly not come from that source.
What about ice from the wing?
Well, it would be virtually impossible for a chunk of ice like this to ever be formed by the wing, created by the wing, or flow off of the wing. It simply could not happen. We have airplanes land occasionally with ice in some of the non-critical surfaces. They are not heated in flight, and they will accrue rime ice.
What is rime ice?
You would traditionally see it if you were walking through the forest. I think it's referred to as horsefrost then. It's beautiful stuff, but in the airplanes coming down into warmer air, this ice then can accumulate, collect, just on the leading edge surfaces that are not heated. It's not anything that causes a problem aerodynamically with the airplane. Not at all the mass that you're seeing right there.
Certainly not the size of a bowling ball.
Definitely not.
So you don't think this is from an airplane?
I do not.
So where does Jack think the ice bombs come from?
I guess dispelling the fact that it could be from an airplane kind of puts me in a position where I'm like sort of now thinking, well, what the hell is it? But, you know, I don't want to leave here without at least asking you what you think it might be. Have you got any idea?
Well, I mean, if you look at the chunks, they're very rough and bumpy, very similar to hail. And somewhere aloft, I'm speculating that these large hail chunks, I mean, we see hail in the softball, baseball size here in the U.S. It would take a lot more convective activity to accomplish this. But at higher altitudes, I'm sure it's quite possible.
Interesting. Brilliant.
Jack has given me plenty to think about. I want to explore his theory that ice bombs are actually giant hailstones. So it's back to the research. I soon start to unearth more accounts of ice bombs. This time, it's not the size or the damage that catches my eye, but the dates that these events occurred. In the late 1700s, a massive chunk of ice as big as an elephant was said to have fallen on this village in India that took 3 days to melt. Then in 1802, a lump of ice fell from the sky in Hungary that had a volume of 18 cubic feet. And what these stories tell me is that this stuff's been happening a long time. As aeroplanes were only invented in the early 1900s, and these reports date back as far as the 1700s, this can only mean one thing. Jack is right. The phenomena of ice bombs is not caused by planes. Along with producing deadly earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and other world-changing natural disasters, Mother Nature seems to be more and more prone to throwing meteorological curveballs. Could ice bombs be just one more example? If I want to know more about giant hailstones, I need to speak to a meteorologist. I've taken a short flight to Pennsylvania State University to enlist the help of climatologist Paul Knight.
Alex.
How are you?
Fine. Pleasure meeting you.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah.
He's an expert in hail and extreme weather.
So how does a hailstone actually form?
The hailstone forms from raindrops, and the raindrops are, in a thunderstorm, are carried up high into the cloud by these very strong updrafts, 20, 30, sometimes 40 meters per second. When they get high up in the atmosphere, the air is well below freezing. So we get a little pellet of ice. That does not make a hailstone. But what happens is that these up and down drafts are violent, and every time the little ice pellet comes down, it hits into other droplets that are on their way up. So we get this continual coating. This process can go on for 5, 10, 20 minutes until it reaches a size and a weight that the updrafts can no longer sustain it. So when it falls down, if you were to find one on the ground and slice it open, it would look like an onion. You know, now it's not a perfect onion, it looks like a misshapen one, but you can actually see almost like the tree rings too. You know, these rings of frozen water that are telling a little bit of the journey that this hailstone made in the clouds.
Yeah, so presumably if you count the rings, you can tell how many times it's gone?
More or less, yes.
Up and down?
Yes.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're really big ones, you know, the massive ones. Sometimes they've gone up and down, maybe 20 or 30 times.
So hail is formed during thunderstorms, and although not as big as ice bombs, it can have a devastating effect. Hailstones the size of baseballs, weighing 150 grams, have been recorded falling at speeds of over 100 miles an hour. Each year, hailstorms wreak havoc across the globe. In October 2010, a sudden freak hailstorm hit Phoenix, Arizona. In just a matter of minutes, this poolside garden was turned into wreckage. In May 2015, the driver of this car and his passenger were traveling through southeastern Spain when they were struck by a freak hailstorm. While both survived, the driver's windscreen was entirely shattered and his car written off. That same storm has been described as the worst to have hit the area in the last 20 years. It caused €5 million worth of damage, destroying crops across 11,000 hectares and decimating 70% of the grape harvest. In Argentina in February 2013, golf ball-sized hail pummeled Mar del Plata Beach Resort in Buenos Aires. In just 10 minutes, the storm damaged an estimated 5,000 cars, as well as homes, offices, and schools. The southern territories of the United States are renowned for their hailstones. The so-called hail belt, which stretches across this area, is regularly hit by mega storms, whose giant hailstones have even caused deaths.
My brother-in-law, who lives in Dallas, he happened to have his camera handy when hailstones started coming down. And I was going to just show you it, because it's sort of, the hailstones in here are huge. I mean, it ended up breaking windows and all sorts, so I can show you a bit of it.
Sure. You usually hear phrases like that when it starts to hail. Yeah, people say, oh no, because they're watching their cars being destroyed.
And these are sort of baseball size, I think. They're,
Yes.
they're pretty big.
Yes, you can see them bouncing on the ground. Oh, look at it, enormous. Oh my goodness. Notice at the same time also, we're seeing pieces of trees coming down, stripping the leaves off
So
the
it's
trees.
destroying the trees. Isn't it?
The landscape just gets really ravaged by it. And of course, what we're not seeing is the roofs.
Oh, okay.
The roofs are just absolutely pummeled.
Torn apart. I think at this point, my sister-in-law will call him and say, come inside, and we'll see.
Oh. Oh, that's not good.
So
Oh, my goodness.
It's all three out.
Oh.
3 windows.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at them still bouncing into it. Oh, my goodness.
It's clear that the damage caused by mega hail like this is similar to that reported in the ice bomb incidents I've followed up so far. But could hail like this happen on a clear day?
So, you know, the people I've spoken to have all said that these ice bombs happen when the sky is pretty much like this, beautiful blue sky day. $1 billion question, but was it hail?
No, it was not. Absolutely not. Without a thunderstorm, there's no hail. Clear blue skies, we're not going to get large pieces of ice that are formed through natural processes.
So it's impossible to get hail on a day like today?
That is correct.
Okay.
If hail can't form in clear skies, then I'm fast running out of theories to explain ice bomb strikes. I'm now trying to track down other reports, which might offer a new lead. And I can't believe my luck.
This is amazing. This is literally 2 weeks ago. Ice chunk smashes through Ravenswood Manor roof. This is in Chicago. And a guy came home Thursday night to find a mess of debris and chunks of ice all over his floor and a hole in the ceiling of his apartment. His cat, Oscar, was not hurt, but was very freaked out. I bet he was. And it looks like there's a video that the guy it happened to has actually uploaded himself, so I'm just gonna...
This is the piece that came.
Oh, my God. So the size of the ice that he's got there is probably an American football size chunk of ice.
It had to be going at an incredible rate of speed. Yeah.
Amazing.
This is an incredible opportunity. I have to get to Chicago. And if it hasn't melted, I may even get to see real remnants of an ice bomb.
So I'm just on my way through the Chicago snow to meet John Connors, who just literally a couple of weeks ago, one of these ice balls fell through his roof. And I'm hoping there's still some evidence so I can actually see it for myself. I think this is the apartment that John lives in here.
The reports I read talked about extensive destruction in John's apartment.
Oh, here we go. This is it.
I hope it hasn't been fixed yet, so I can see it for myself.
How are you? How are you? This happened so recently.
So, yeah, that's the thing.
Wow, that is insane. You weren't here when it happened?
No, I wasn't. I was at work all day, and so I came in. I keep saying it was like a bomb went off in here, but it was. There was just plaster everywhere.
That was the first thing you saw, was the mess on the ground?
Well, I mean, my apartment was actually completely dark because it's wintertime.
Yeah.
And so when I walked in, actually the first thing I saw was chunks of ice.
Chunks of ice that looked like it was...
Yeah, and on the chair, it was frozen. Like, I couldn't even pull this ice off. It was just, like, soaked into the chair.
What did you think had happened?
I thought that there was, like, a lot of ice up there that I didn't know about, and that it had been leaking, and it just kind of collapsed.
Collapsed, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a snowy day outside.
It wasn't. It hadn't
snowing.
snowed. It hadn't snowed at all that day, yeah, because it was so cold. When I first came in, I could see the sky. Out of the corner, I actually could see a plane going by that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Time to inspect the damage.
I had my landlord come out, and he had somebody cover it up that evening.
That's the board that covers up the top
right.
bit.
The ice bomb didn't just break the roof tiles.
Wow.
It smashed a joist to pieces.
Gee, so it went all the way, blasted it down this way as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things like that kind of flashed through my head was like, you know, the universe just tried to kill me and it missed. My neighbor actually suggested saving the pieces of ice. So I actually have some of them still.
You still have them?
I still have them, yeah.
I see them?
Yes. This is the biggest piece that I've saved.
Wow.
This had been sitting out for at least 6 hours.
Oh, right.
In a hot apartment. But the thing that I noticed when I was picking it up off the floor was it was extremely cold.
Mm. Obviously, you were out at the time, and apart from your cat, did any of the neighbors hear?
I immediately went next door to Doris's. She did hear something around 11:30 noon.
What did she say she heard?
She said it sounded like a house exploded in the neighborhood. So there were 4 of these about the same size.
And you imagine that was how big the thing was, so 4 times this?
4 times that, so probably about the size of a basketball, maybe, or a bowling ball.
I would say it's bigger than that.
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy.
It's really heavy. When I had all the pieces and I put it in a bag, I think when I weighed it, it was about 18 pounds.
Really?
And so that wasn't all of them either.
Finding a piece of ice bomb is a rare occurrence. I need to get these fragments to a lab for analysis. This could be the breakthrough I've been looking for in my mission to find a scientific explanation for these extraordinary incidents. Up until my meeting with John, I was fast running out of theories.
I think it's common for people to think that things that come from the sky, since there are many airplanes in the sky, that they might be contributors to this. But I can't imagine that this would be dropping from an airplane.
So you don't think this is from an airplane?
I do not.
Appreciate the time.
My pleasure.
$1 billion question, but was it hail?
No, it was not. Absolutely not. Without a thunderstorm, there's no hail.
But there is one theory that so far I haven't explored. The explanation proposed by the very first eyewitnesses I interviewed.
I thought it could be from space, that it came from space. There's no way it could have came from this atmosphere.
We didn't have any other speculations, because what are really the other choices?
I can't help but wonder if there might be some truth in this. Could ice bombs have formed outside of our atmosphere? Luckily, John saved the ice, so now I'm on my way to get it analysed. I'm going to meet Professor Bill Krieger. He's a leading geologist at York College, Pennsylvania, and is a man obsessed with things that fall out of the sky. This guy's been studying these things for a number of years, so I'm hoping that I might finally get some answers.
So, forgive my uneducated question, but I mean, is it from outer space?
We have pieces of ice falling into this atmosphere all the time. Chunks and chunks and chunks of ice that are from comets. Cometary ice is what we call that.
Each day, our Earth is bombarded with over 100 tons of dust and sand-sized particles, most of which go unnoticed. But about once a year, a car-sized meteor hits the Earth's atmosphere, creating an impressive fireball, but burning up before reaching the surface. In September 2015, local residents in Thailand witnessed an impressive air show when a small rock hurtled into our atmosphere from space. A 20-meter-wide asteroid exploded into the atmosphere in Russia in February 2013, traveling at 43,000 odd miles an hour. The fireball glowed 30 times brighter than the sun, causing skin and retinal burns. The resulting sonic boom shattered windows all across the city. But once every 2,000 years, a meteor the size of a football field will collide with Earth, causing significant damage.
Cometary ice are dirty snowballs. You know, it's mixed in with all kind of debris, rock, all kind of rock material. You wouldn't find chunks of light that's real pure like that because it's generally mixed in. Plus, it's got other gases, and it would be a little bit shaded color. So from looking at these, you can say, no way, okay?
So the pure white ice bomb that destroyed John Connor's apartment is not from space. So where did it come from?
What's the first test you're going to do, and what does it prove, or what does it show us?
Okay, the first test is what we call the pH test, and pH stands for acidity. Okay, if it comes out neutral, somewhere around pH of 7 or 6, then you know it is pretty much pure water. Pollution generally is acidic, so it would be up in this range here.
Our weather-producing clouds sit in the lowest layer of the atmosphere, the troposphere, where high levels of gases such as carbon dioxide are present. These gases dissolve into the water droplets, raising their acidity levels before making rainwater naturally acidic around pH 5. This acidity is amplified over areas with high pollution, such as Chicago, where this ice bomb struck. Rainwater there has been measured as extreme as pH 3.
If it's neutral around 7, 6 or 7, what does that tell you that it probably came from?
It's pure water and formed without any pollution or any debris, and probably higher in the atmosphere.
Can we do the test?
Oh yeah, most certainly. And you don't need much.
And you want the interior of the ice because it's the one that's not been contaminated since we've been touching it or whatever, right?
Exactly. You hold that in your hand, is your hands real hot?
Very hot, very warm, yeah. It's these rubber gloves.
Stick them under your arm, you know. Then they tell you, that's all right, that's a warm area, yeah. And we'll melt it. And then all we have to do is take that off and dip a nice clean one into the water.
Just dip it in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me give that to you, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Looking at the pH indicator here, this is 6. I mean, it's bang on 6, isn't it?
Right.
So what does that tell us? That's pH neutral.
Pretty much. 6 to 8 is generally what we call neutral.
We now know the ice bomb is made from pure pH neutral water. This suggests that somehow these ice bombs have been created outside of the lower atmospheric layer. So where have they come from, and how did they originate? To find out, Bill is going to spend the next 48 hours performing more complex tests.
You're not finished till you try to check every avenue, and I will.
Meanwhile, I'm on my way to meet one last eyewitness, who is the first person I've ever heard of to be actually hit by an ice bomb.
Hello. You must be Perry.
Yes. In 2010, a piece of ice smashed through Perry Foster's ceiling, hitting his wife, Mary Ann, in the face. They've since had the ceiling fixed, but want to show me photos of the damage and the actual ice bomb that struck her. I'm keen to see just how similar it is to the others I've encountered.
So we're talking 13 centimeters long, about 6 centimeters wide. It's a pretty big chunk.
And there were several of them.
How many?
Oh, I'm guessing that there were about a dozen.
All different sizes?
Yes.
And one of these hit your head, Marianne?
Oh, yeah.
How big was the bruise?
It was more just a black eye.
Yeah.
Just this.
The bruise was up around here.
Yeah.
But, and it got red. But what really distinguished her the most was the big black eye.
Frightening.
Marianne was lucky to escape with her life. Perry was so alarmed that he called the emergency services in panic.
What on earth did the police say?
They thought that I was a little crazy, I think. I guess they get these kind of calls often, and people are fighting, and people are throwing things at each other, and then they make up stories to make...
So they thought it was a domestic?
They thought it was a domestic, I think.
Once the initial shock had passed, Perry then examined the chunk of ice that hit his wife and noticed something interesting.
It did have layers through it, as if it were a large piece of hail.
So it was lots of hailstones stuck together?
It was just one layer after another, and you could see the layering in the chunks.
That's interesting. And what was the state of the weather at that point?
It was a nice evening. It was October, and it was a little crispy, but it was a clear night.
No clouds?
No clouds.
But you could see the stars?
I could see the stars. Exactly, yeah.
The chunk of ice bomb that smashed Marianne in the face looked like a giant hailstone. But we've already established that hailstones don't fall from clear skies. I'm hoping Bill's pioneering research will reveal what these ice bombs really are. It's now been 2 days, and it's time to head back to the lab to see if Professor Bill Krieger has got any new findings to share with me. Bill and his son Jason have been experimenting with ice and wind tunnels and have come up with a remarkable theory.
Okay, this is the shop.
So come on, what is it?
The mega cryometeor.
What is a mega cryometeor?
Mega cryometeor, mega big, cryo meaning cold, ice. Meteor refers to a chunk of ice falling from the sky. They are made up of chunks of ice that coalesce together, all right? And they gotta coalesce together with other humidity around in a cloud, okay? So that...
When you say coalesce, they glue together?
They glue themselves together with ice.
This sounds similar to the way hailstones are formed. So how do these ice bombs differ?
So hailstones form when there's a storm going on.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's the weather has to be cloudy, all the rest of it. But these things occur when there's no cloud. I mean, there's sunny sky, 80 degrees. How does that happen?
Okay. They form somewhere where you have the humidity, where you have updrafts and downdrafts and things like that. And I believe, and others do, that it's carried by the wind currents, upper air.
That's amazing.
And these are the jet stream. If you have a 157 mile per hour wind, you can hold suspended in the wind current a chunk about the size of a grapefruit or 5 golf balls.
These powerful jet streams in the upper atmosphere carry small chunks of ice, moving them up and down between humid and freezing atmospheric conditions. The chunks then collide and stick together, forming an increasingly larger mass that can only be supported by such strong winds. Bill goes on to tell me that these same strong winds can then carry these mega ice chunks far away from where they were initially formed.
So what you're saying is, so whereas a hailstone, hailstones will form, you know, directly overhead more or less. These things might form 100 miles away, 200
or thousands.
Seriously?
Yes, they're carried with the upper air winds because some of those upper air winds go 200, 300, 400, 500 mile per hour.
At these speeds, Bill's initial research calculates that the jet streams can support an object weighing almost 20 kilos. That's over twice the size of the ice bomb that came crashing through John Connor's roof.
So it's accurate to say megacriometeors are like hailstones on acid, but that maybe form higher up and that are carried way further, which explains how they can come from a clear sky.
Yes, they get pushed out of the jet stream and they're going to fall.
These megacriometeors continue to grow within the jet stream until they're too heavy to be supported by the upper winds, causing them to crash to Earth in the form of ice bombs. With the help of Jason, Bill has devised an experiment to help prove this theory.
The experiment will show how these megacriometers form. Up in the stratosphere, we have the stronger forces to be able to take the material, help form it, and keep it there and move it. So the idea is to see if we can duplicate some of that, and maybe we can.
This device simulates our upper atmosphere, where powerful winds could carry ice long distances. The green ice represents ice pellets, which would get caught up in these jet streams.
Okay, you can see that they're going up and down, and some of them are running into each other.
Yeah, they are.
And we can get them to coalesce.
You have the air circulating, so you have enough that it can lift ice balls. In this case, we're using green ice cubes, and it can go up and down several different layers of the atmosphere. They're bumping into one another and stick together, thus forming a megacriometeor.
Thanks to this pioneering research, I've found a scientific explanation for ice bomb strikes.
That's what science is. You try to explain something based on what you know. The more you know, the better off your understanding.
At the end of this incredible journey, I finally found the answer to the ice bomb mystery. These extraordinary and potentially devastating incidents are a naturally occurring weather phenomenon. Their origin lies in the freezing upper limits of our atmosphere.
It was not regular ice, because you can touch it, you know, like run your finger on it, and it didn't melt.
Where, propelled by the force of the powerful jet streams, they're carried over vast distances, relentlessly increasing in size until their sheer weight causes them to plummet to Earth.
A person had been walking outside, you wouldn't stand a chance.
It sounded like a house exploded.
I was scared. The way that impact, the size of it, it would have definitely killed us.
This discovery marks the end of my investigation. But although we now know where the ice bombs come from, what we can't predict is when the next one is going to hit.